We are in Parashat Behaalotecha, and even though the parasha is starting talking about the menorah and the candles, but there is another concept that is taught in this parasha, a very powerful mitzvah, and the mitzvah is the mitzvah of Pesach Sheni, of the celebrating the second time of Pesach, which that's what we're going to address today. Mainly not because of the actual holiday, because that already passed, and one might question, well, we already passes, why do I need to know about it? Rather, we want to understand where the Torah is coming to teach me about the idea of a second chance, and that it's never too late, and what does it really mean? And unfortunately, a lot of people, they have a tendency, whether they do it by default, whether they do it by mistake, whether it's common, whether it's not, but we all, at some point in our life, come late to certain meetings. Some people, their whole being is being late. So some people, for any meeting, they'll be late. And and listen, there's something very positive in that. The ones who are always late, they're very optimistic people. Yeah. So because they still come, they still come. But nevertheless, some people, that's their entire life is about being late. Doesn't matter how early they leave, they'll still be late. Some people, it's not so common, but nevertheless, just think of what's the feeling that you have when you're late. You come in the middle of the class, or you, chas v'shalom, miss a flight. Can you imagine missing a flight? With the feeling? I mean, I'm pretty good with missing flights. So in the beginning it was very stressful. Now I'm like, oh yeah, whatever, no, I'll catch another one. But it's some things are very, very simple. You miss the first part of the class. Okay, I'll watch the video online. It's not the end of the world. Sometimes you miss something, and it's serious. You miss a flight. You, chas v'shalom, miss an appointment, and you have a very strong feeling that, if I could turn the time back. And sometimes when you miss something, the consequences is severe. I'm not talking about a person that has a bad habit and they're late all the time. Sometimes you miss the train, and you really miss the train. And we have this bad feeling that, what I would do if I could now reverse the time. Now worse than that, this is not necessarily when I'm late. Worse than that is what happens when I do a certain action and I mess up. And then the feeling that I have is even worse. I wish I could turn the time back. Or like, how do you say, turn the wheel back? Turn the clock back, whatever term there is. Sometimes you do a certain action because you're angry, you're frustrated, you're upset, whatever it is, and later on you really regret what you did. And then you realize, wow, what a mistake I did. Now how am I going to fix this? How am I going to rectify that? How am I going to turn the wheel back? And unfortunately, we find this in our life many times. I'm not talking about the being late now. This is just on the way. But when you do something, you say something, and you saying, I wish if I would know then what I know now. And sometimes it's not even necessarily in an action that I do something negative. Sometimes it's a decision in my life. When I came to America, I left the army, the Israeli army, and then I came to the United States. And I was 23 at the time, give or take. And when I came to the United States, I met somebody, and we got friendly, and that person told me, if you have a little bit of money now, there's a new company that is out in the market. It's a good time to buy their shares. And I was like, what's the company? Never heard of that. So, no, not Google. That will be another big kick to the head. But anyways, at the time was a company in America called Krispy Kremes. And now it's a huge franchise. all over North America. And at the time when I came, it was very, very cheap to buy stocks, shares from this company. And after a while, you're like, wow, what a mistake. If I would then invest whatever it was, a couple $1,000s, ooh, now what these stocks would be worth. So it's kind of not only is with my behavior in regards to maybe chas v'shalom doing a mistake, sometimes you're in a crossroad in your life and you make a wrong decision. You buy, you sell, you invest, you don't invest, you pull out. Just imagine the smart people that in the late 90s were able to invest into Google. And now, look what would be the investment. But nevertheless, we find many times in our life the moment that I wish I could turn the wheel back. And in this week's parasha, it comes and tells me, you know what? It's never lost. As long as you are alive, as long as you're breathing, it's never lost. And not only that it's never lost, it's never too late. And this, of course, is referring to the mitzvah of Pesach Sheni. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Now, very interestingly, there isn't such a mitzvah like Pesach Sheni. There's no Yom Kippur Sheni. There's no Rosh Hashanah Sheni. There's no even Tefillin Sheni. I missed putting Tefillin. I missed it. That's it. And nobody comes and tells me, you'll have another opportunity to put again Tefillin. That's it. You didn't do it, you missed it. It's like sometimes, it happens to many people on Shabbat, Friday night meal, you work really hard, Thursday night you're cooking all night, and Friday you're cooking, you're cleaning, whatever. Comes the meal on Shabbat and you, and then you wake up after 2 hours, I didn't bench, I didn't say Birkat Hamazon, can I still say? No. Time passed, you lost. So, we find that there's no such a mitzvah like that, like Pesach Sheni. And this mitzvah again, of that it's never too late and you can always get a second chance. Now, let's explain a little bit first the mitzvah. The second year after they went out of Mitzrayim came the second Pesach. Because when they left Pesach the first year, they celebrated Pesach. A year later, the year anniversary, there was time to do Pesach. And it was the first time that they commemorated Yetziat Mitzrayim. They had to do again, first of all, the Korban Pesach, and then they did Leil Seder. They did the first time the same matzot, they needed to commemorate it. Now, it was time to celebrate the holiday, and what happened was 2 hours before slaughtering the Korban Pesach, the Pesach offering, came to a few people to Moshe Rabbeinu, and they said, we're impure. We can't do the Pesach, because you have to be pure to do the Korban Pesach. Which raises another big question, how there were people that were impure? Because we know at the time of when they left Mitzrayim till the golden calf, nobody died. There wasn't impurity of death. They had already the red heifer. Nobody died at that time. How can somebody be impure? The impurity comes from tumat met. All the impurity comes from a dead body. This is av avot tumah, the first of all the tumah. So if you don't have that, there's no impurity. The women didn't have to go to the mikveh at that time. They didn't have nida. They didn't have the cycle. There wasn't any such a thing as impurity. When they sinned with the golden calf, it came back again. So in that buffer, in that time, how can it be that somebody is impure? So again, a year after going out of Mitzrayim, it's time to celebrate the first Pesach. 2 hours before Pesach, Moshe Rabbeinu is about to slaughter the Korban Pesach. A few people come and they tell Moshe Rabbeinu, we're impure. What are we going to do? How could it be that they were impure? So there are 3 options. And this is explained in the Talmud, in Masechet Sukkah. And they explain as follows. The first option is there were, if you remember, the sons of Aaron, Nadav and Avihu, they died. Somebody had to bury them. Who buried them? The cousins. There are two cousins that they buried them. They pulled them out because nobody, not a regular person, can go into Kodesh HaKodashim. It has to be somebody from the family. So who came in? Two cousins, Mishael and El Tzapan. They came in, they took the bodies out of Nadav and Avihu and they buried them. So one opinion says, this is again found in the Talmud, that it was Mishael and El Tzapan. They were impure. They came to Moshe and said, hey, we just buried two bodies. We are impure. No, this is one option. The second option, it says that it's the men that were carrying the coffin of Yosef, and it had impurity on it, because they were carrying the coffin of Yosef for all 40 years in the desert, and only after they entered into the land of Israel, they came back to Shechem and they buried the coffin. So there were a few men, that was their job, to carry the coffin. So the second opinion says, no, it was these men that were carrying the coffin. And the third option is there is a mitzvah, it was called Kavru Met Mitzvah. Some people, they bury a person that died, and it's a mitzvah, and then there were these people. So this is how the Talmud explained that a few people came and they said we're impure. But nevertheless, when they came to Moshe Rabbeinu and said, we are not pure, they said two words. And the entire concept is based on these two words. And the two words are Lama Nigra. Why should we lose out? Of course, in English, it's why we should lose. In English, there's many more words. Hebrew is straight to the point. Lama Nigra. Two words. And these two words is the secret where this whole idea is leaning on. And this is what we're going to be talking about, and we're going to dissect it into more information. But these two individuals, 2 or 3 individuals, they came. Doesn't say how many of them. We're assuming it's 2 because if it's Michel and El Tzapan, then it's 2. But if it's the guys who carried the coffin, maybe it's 4, maybe it's 6. Nevertheless, these individuals come to Moshe Rabbeinu and say, we are impure, we can't sacrifice the Pesach offering, we can't eat it, we can't do anything with it. And they say, why should we lose out? That's not fair. Now Moshe is in a bind. He doesn't know what to answer them. He's like, okay, I don't know what to tell you. And it was Moshe that went to Hashem and said, Hashem, listen, I have an issue here. I have a problem. Moshe Rabbeinu says, Houston, we have a problem. So Moshe Rabbeinu calls Hashem and he tells him, what am I going to do? I don't know what to tell them. What does Hashem answer him? Tell him to do it in a month. Really? Yes, Hashem himself tells Moshe Rabbeinu, tells them they can do it in a month. This is a second chance. Oh, that's not too bad. But nevertheless, on the other hand, there's no such a mitzvah. We don't find in any other case that somebody missed the mitzvah and Hashem says, you know what, come back in a month, I'll let you do it. So obviously, this is a very rare mitzvah and we want to learn a little bit more about it. Now, comes here a very interesting explanation by Rambam, by Maimonides, and he says, even if somebody deliberately did it, he's allowed to wait for that month and to do it again. If we're looking at what happened here in the desert, that was not their fault. If it's Michel and El Tzapan who buried Nadav and Avihu, that's not their fault. If it's the men who were carrying the coffin, that's not their fault. Rambam comes and adds, even if somebody did it deliberately, they still are, they can participate in Pesach Sheni. Oh, that's already adding even an addition here. Now, of course, comes the big question. So why is there only one Pesach Sheni? Why isn't there this to any other mitzvah? Why Dafka Pesach? Dafka this and 1 month. This is a little bit less relevant. Maybe Hashem said, I'll give you a month to gain your purity. But nevertheless, a more interesting question is, why Dafka Pesach? Why not Tefillin? Why not Shabbat? Today I had to desecrate Shabbat. For whatever reason, give me in a Tuesday to do another Shabbat. So first of all, we know that the idea, what it's trying to teach me is that it's never too late. You can always fix something. I want to know why Pesach. There's a lot of questions that I want to know, but now I want to know why Pesach. So the answer is that Pesach is a very unique mitzvah. And why is it a unique mitzvah? It's one of the 2 positive mitzvahs that it fall under the 36 mitzvot that the punishment of not doing them is karet. So there is 36 mitzvot in the Torah. 2 of them are positive and 34 of them are negative. That if chas v'shalom somebody does them or doesn't, the punishment is called karet. Karet is death by the heavenly court, that the soul gets chopped off. This is a severe, severe punishment, and needless to say, a severe sin. Pesach is a unique mitzvah because it's one of the 2 of the positives. The negatives are a lot, all the forbidden relations, and driving and working on Yom Kippur, eating on Yom Kippur, eating chametz on Pesach, doing a seance, eating from the holy sacrifices, and all sorts of different negative mitzvot. But the 2 positive ones are doing the Korban Pesach, the sacrifice of Pesach, and circumcision. These are the 2 mitzvot. So Pesach obviously is a very unique mitzvah, as we know that it's one of the 2 mitzvot of karet. Now, the Talmud asks a question. If Pesach Sheni is a second chance, meaning an addition to Pesach Rishon, or it's a completely new festival? This is a question that the Gemara presents, and the answer is that Pesach Sheni is a completely separated, standalone holiday. It has nothing to do with the first Pesach. It's called Pesach Sheni, but there's no connection to the first Pesach, and the Talmud comes to the conclusion this is a standalone holiday. It's a regel, a festival for itself. How do we know that? According to the converts. Because if a convert converted a week after Pesach, right? A person that didn't circumcise himself, or a person that didn't convert yet, can do the Korban Pesach. But nevertheless, if the convert converted between Pesach and Pesach Sheni, the halacha is that he does the Pesach Sheni. But you weren't Jewish in the Pesach Rishon. Why do you need to do it? And from that, the Talmud learns that the Pesach Sheni is a completely standalone holiday. It has nothing to do with the Pesach Rishon. Very simple, brilliant and very simple. And again, just to repeat, if a convert converts between Pesach and Pesach Sheni, he has to do Pesach Sheni. But a week before that, even if the mikveh day was a day after Pesach, he's already 99%, just needs to go into the mikveh and go out. Nevertheless, the person cannot celebrate Pesach. But she goes to the mikveh a day after Pesach. Pesach Sheni, they already have to participate in the holiday. And of course comes again the question, but if you weren't Jewish before, why do you need to do Pesach Sheni? Because Pesach Sheni has nothing to do with Pesach Rishon. And it's therefore, our sages teach, they learn, Pesach Sheni is a standalone holiday. It has nothing to do with the first Pesach. Basically saying, in other words, that Pesach Sheni is a brand new holiday. And also Rambam adds on that, that this is a positive mitzvah, one of the 613 mitzvot. Now, last week was exactly a week ago, was Shavuot. I don't know if you took the time to read the Tikkun Leil Shavuot, but if you did, at the end, there's all the 613 mitzvot based on the Rambam, and mitzvah number 57, that's Rambam says that Pesach Sheni is a mitzvah for itself. It's not a payment. It's not an option. It's like to what you didn't miss, you missed, so you get to do it again. So we see we have 2 sources, both the oral Torah from the Talmud and Rambam, that both say, no, Pesach Sheni is a completely separate holiday. With that said, if this is the case, so how come there isn't a Sheni from other holidays? Why don't I have a Yom Kippur Sheni? That would be a pretty good one. I mean, Yom Kippur I get forgiven for all my sins. I can use a second Yom Kippur and probably use a 10 Yom Kippurs. But how come there's no second Purim and second Rosh Hashanah? Or forget about the holiday. Why isn't there a second Tefillin? Or a second whatever? How many things do I miss? And why is there a second of that? So, We know that in the Jewish path, in the Jewish lifestyle, there are two paths. One path is where the righteous walk on, they're called tzaddikim, and the other path is called Baalei Tshuva, a person that made a mistake, and then they repent. So these are the two paths that we have. We are not tzaddikim, in case you didn't notice. We are trying to be the Baalei Tshuva. So we're obviously walking on the second path, not on the first path. The first path that the tzaddikim walk on, this corresponds to Pesach. But the second path that we walk on, the Baalei Tshuva, that corresponds to Pesach Sheni. And basically Pesach Sheni is the mitzvah of Tshuva. You know that it's a mitzvat aseh from the Torah to do Tshuva. It's a positive mitzvah from the Torah to do Tshuva, and there I have it. I have Pesach Sheni. Now, we said that Pesach is a very unique holiday, a very unique mitzvah. Why? Because it's one of the two positive mitzvahs of the karet. Okay, now, what's the other positive mitzvah that the punishment is karet? Is circumcision, Brit Milah. So from the 36 kretot, 34 are negative, 2 are positive. The 2 that are positive is Pesach and Brit Milah. And some say these are the 2 most important mitzvot in the Torah. Pesach and Brit Milah. Besides the fact that before we left Egypt, these were the 2 mitzvahs that we got, if you remember. We didn't have mitzvot. Okay, so we got in the beginning of Nisan, the Kiddush HaChodesh. Okay, we got one little mitzvah. But right before we went out of Egypt, we got 2 mitzvot, Korban Pesach and circumcision. And needless to say, that we see from that, this is 2 very important mitzvot. Now, of course, comes a big question. How can you deliberately miss these 2 mitzvot? You know that they say that doesn't matter who the person is, these 2 mitzvot are the most common mitzvot that nobody misses. Even the most secular Jew does Pesach and does Brit Milah. Look, in Israel on Pesach, 70% of the citizens here are not observant. Pesach, who doesn't do Leil Seder? Everybody does Leil Seder. And same with Brit Milah. You see people that are completely secular. Brit Milah, oh, no question here. Nevertheless, we see that there's a very strong connection between Pesach and circumcision. Why? First, they both were given together before leaving Egypt. And more than that, both of them are the positive mitzvah that are one of the 36 kritot. Now, there's a story to understand a little bit more deeper. There is a story in the Talmud about a certain rabbi. His name was Yehoshua ben Levi. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi. And he was alive at the time that Eliyahu Navi was alive. And of course, there was a rumor, there's Eliyahu Navi. Everybody was like, oh, I want to meet the guy. I want to hang out with him. It's pretty cool. One day's here, one day's there. It's like, teleporting all over the world, going through Brit Milot all day long. This specific rabbi was a very, very righteous Tana, and he said to Hashem, I want to meet Eliyahu Navi. And not only that I want to meet Eliyahu Navi, I want to join him. I want to hang out with him, as they say. Go on a tour. 30 days with Eliyahu Navi. Okay. Now, the story says that Hashem says, okay, no problem. I will meet you with Eliyahu Navi. So he got to meet Eliyahu Navi. He saw him. Not only that, Eliyahu Navi also showed Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi who's Mashiach. So he got the VIP tour. But nevertheless, the Midrash says that he came to Eliyahu Navi and said to him, okay, nice to meet you. After they met, after they talked, Eliyahu Navi exposed a few details, that one of them was who's Mashiach. Then he was a little bit of chutzpah, and he says, listen, I want you to take me with you. I want to see how is it to be a day with Eliyahu Navi, or even more. Eliyahu Navi told him, listen, I'm sorry, this is top security, top secret, I can't take you with me. He says, please, I beg you, whatever you tell me to do, I'll do. I want to go with you. I just want to see how your day is. So he says, okay, I'm willing to take you, but there's one condition. You're not allowed to ask any questions. Everything that you see me do, you accept and no questions asked. No problem, I will zip my mouth. I'm not asking nothing. Just take me with you. Okay. They go on the journey. And the first stop, they stop in a city. And you know what? There was a lot of Brit Milah that day. They went from one Brit Milah to another Brit Milah to another Brit Milah. Comes the evening, they were starving. I mean, even though they served food in the Brit Milah, but they didn't have time to eat. Because they, chick to the next one, chick to the next one. They didn't have time to eat. So they look around, they're very hungry. Now, this wasn't New York that they had tons of kosher restaurants. There wasn't much options. So they start looking around where to eat. Finally, they see a little house. Eliyahu Navi says, oh, in this house is a couple. They're Jewish. Let's go and ask them if they can host us and if they can feed us. They knock on the door. Elderly couple, very, very poor. Eliyahu Navi, of course, doesn't say who he is, but he says, excuse me, we're traveling. We're very tired. We're very hungry. Maybe you have some food or a place for us to stay. The old couple were very, very old, very, very poor. And nevertheless, they said, sure, yes, we have a little bit of soup. Not much. We just threw a few things in the pot. They divided it in four. They was supposed to be divided in two. They divided it in four. And they said, we don't have much what to give you, but you can sleep here anywhere. Find a corner to sleep. Okay. They sleep. They eat. 12 o'clock at night, suddenly Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi hears noise. He wakes up and he sees Eliyahu Navi getting up and walking out to the backyard. So he very quietly follows him. And then he sees that Eliyahu Navi goes out and there's a little cow there with these two old people who are milking the cow to get some drink. And he suddenly sees Eliyahu Navi, says a few holy words, and he kills the cow. What? Why would he kill the cow? That's such a nice couple. They were so hospitable to us. They gave us from their soup. Why are you killing their cow? That's the little bit that they have. He's about to ask Eliyahu Navi why. Eliyahu Navi tells him, I said no questions, right? No questions. Okay. The next day, they continue traveling. Same thing, they go from one with a Brit to another Brit to another Brit. Comes the end of the day, same idea, they need a place to stay and they're starving. Happens to be they fall in front of a huge mansion. Ooh, Eliyahu Navi says, ooh, there's a Jew lives here. This time the Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says, okay, at least tonight we're going to eat properly, not going to eat some bean soup. They come, they knock on the door, excuse me, we're travelers, maybe you can help us. The butler opened the door, of course, not the Jew, that was the rich person. And he tells them, yeah, fine, come, you can eat something. The businessman, the Jew, was somewhere in one of the rooms upstairs, didn't even pay attention, he doesn't care. He just told the butler came in, says, there's two Jews here, okay, what should I do with them? He told them, just give them something to eat and find a place for them to sleep and finish with it. He didn't even come down to see who they are. Okay, the butler gives them some food to eat, didn't give them too much of a nice attitude. Yeah, you can sleep over there, eat this and that. Wasn't treating them so nice. But nevertheless, they got what to eat and they got to sleep. In the middle of the night, again, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi wakes up in the middle of the night and he hears noise and he sees Eliyahu Navi walking around the house. And then he says, he looks up to the heavens and he says, Hashem, I want this house to sustain and remain standing forever. And again, Rabbi Yeshua says, what's going on here? That nice couple that went out of the way, you killed their cow, these pots didn't even come to see who we are, the butler just threw some food at us, and you giving him a blessing that the house should remain forever? But turns to Eliyahu Navi. Eliyahu tells him, I said no questions. Okay, comes the third night. Same idea. They go around from one Brit to another Brit to another Brit. Comes the end of the day. This time they don't find where to eat and where to sleep. So where are they going to stay? They go to the local shul. And they come to the local shul. The guy tells them, listen, just sleep on one of the benches. And that's what happens. They sleep on one of the benches. And before they were sleeping on one of the benches, when they walk into the shul, they were praying Arvit. And they ask people, we're travelers, we don't have where to eat, where to sleep. Can I stay by you? No. Can I stay by you? No. Can you find me where to stay or eat? No. And at the end, the guy says, I'm sorry, just sleep on the bench. Okay. They're sleeping very uncomfortable on the bench all night. Same idea, in the middle of the night. Rabbi Shua wakes up, he sees Eliyahu Navi waking up himself too. And he hears Eliyahu Navi tells Hashem, I want that in this shul, everybody will turn out to be leaders. Leaders. At this point, Rabbi Yeshua says, the deal is off. I need you to tell me what's going on here. I'm willing not to travel with you anymore. Just tell me what's going on here. So Eliyahu Navi says, okay, I will tell you. You can't travel with me ever again, but I will tell you what's going to happen. What happened here? He says, with the first family, we stayed there. I saw that from the heavens, the husband was supposed to die that night. And I didn't want the lady to be widowed by herself. What would she do? Such a nice woman. I asked Hashem that maybe the decree can go on the cow. And instead of the husband dying, that the cow should die. And Hashem agreed, and sure enough, the cow died. In the second scenario, underneath the house of that rich person was a treasure. Huge treasure. And was supposed to be the next day earthquake. And the earthquake would break the house into pieces. And you know what would the person find? The treasure. And he would be 100 times more wealthy if that would happen. So I said, this guy's a potz. He didn't even come down to see who we are and send his butler with food. You know what? I don't want to have this house destroyed by the earthquake. I don't want him to find the treasure. Hashem, make this house stand firm here for eternity. And sure enough, he lost. He never got the treasure. And when it came to the third night, everybody there nobody wanted to host them. All the congregations, no, I don't know, I don't have where to put you. So he says, what's the biggest punishment in having in a community? That everybody has what to say. Everybody's leaders. Then nobody gets along with each other. They will disagree with each other. So nobody had the little bit of a derech eretz to host us. I'm blessing them all to all be leaders. Now everybody will just argue with each other all day long. So this was the story with Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. And what do we take from that? Is that everybody wants to meet Eliyahu Navi. Everybody wants to meet Eliyahu Navi. Did anybody meet him? Very few people. A few people had a Gilui Eliyahu. The Rizal used to learn with Eliyahu Navi. If you go to the shul, the Ari's shul, but in the bottom, not the one over here in Kikar Meginim. Most people say it has nothing to do with the Ari, and they call it the Ari shul, the Ashkenazi. But the real shul is all the way down in the cemetery. If you ever went there, there's a little cave, and the story says that this is the cave where the Arizal used to sit with Eliyahu Navi, and he would teach him all the secrets. So some people had the merit to meet Eliyahu Navi. But we don't meet Eliyahu Navi. When do we meet Eliyahu Navi? There are two times in my life, two opportunities when I can meet Eliyahu. The first one is in a Brit Milah. Everybody knows Eliyahu Navi is in the Brit Milah. And the second opportunity is Leil Seder. Everybody wants to. Either you go outside and you open the door, you put the cup on the table, everybody's waiting for Eliyahu Navi to come on Leil Seder. And this two opportunities is when Eliyahu Navi, we have the opportunity of meeting Eliyahu. Now, there is a rabbi who lived about 200 years ago, very righteous man. His name is Rabbi Moshe Chagiz, and he taught that these two mitzvot are depending on each other. And not only they're depending on each other, they have a very deep connection. And How do we see the connection? That a Jew is not allowed to sacrifice the Korban Pesach if he's not circumcised. And comes a big question here. I have a big little seder. Sorry for saying something so private, but I don't know who is circumcised or not. What, I'm going to start asking my guests, excuse me, not that it's my business, but have you, are you circumcised? This is not something you ask somebody when you invite people to the Leil Seder. But we know the rule is that one cannot sacrifice the sacrifice of Pesach if he's not circumcised. Now this is again not such an appropriate thing to ask your guests. Maybe some people do it, excuse me, please stand in line. But yeah. So how do we know who's circumcised? We need a witness. Who's the most appropriate witness that can tell me who's circumcised? Eliyahu Navi. He was in all the Brit Milah. He can come and says, oh yeah, him, yeah, I've been there. He was a crybaby. He couldn't stop crying. And how about this guy? Yeah, I've been to his Brit Milah too. He was okay. He didn't cry much. So these two mitzvot are a testimony on the fact that one is Jewish. It's proving the essence of my Jewishness, so to say. The circumcision and the sacrifice of Pesach. And like I said before, these are the two mitzvot that most people don't miss out. Unless you're living in Soviet Union 100 years ago, that people would be shot to death by doing circumcision. People did circumcisions in the Holocaust. And now go to almost any country in the world, the Jew that is the most secular Jew still does circumcision. I mean, now people are starting to come up with all sorts of nonsense, but nevertheless you see that Pesach and circumcision are the two mitzvot that most people that are not observant, they'll never miss. They'll still do it. They might not do it the right way, but they still do it. It's still very important to the majority of Jews, circumcision and Pesach. And how is that? Because these are the two mitzvot that most people did unbelievable mesirut nefesh for. And it started at the time of Yetziat Mitzrayim. You know what it was to do Korban Pesach at the time of Mitzrayim? It was their idol. You know what a sacrifice it was? How daring they should have been to take the idol of the Egyptians and to tie it to the bed. And not only that, to circumcise themselves before leaving Egypt, but throughout the history we see how many times people went in such a mesirut nefesh, such self-sacrifice to do a Brit Milah. You know, 100 years ago in Russia, people will do Brit Milah quietly in the basement and they wouldn't even give it up. And needless to say, how many stories we heard in the Holocaust, people would still do Brit Milah with a rock or whatever, just to do the mitzvah. So we see that these two mitzvot, they're so powerful because of the mesirut nefesh that people went against all odds just to do these mitzvot. What is not so clear here, if these two mitzvot are so important and so powerful, why is Hashem giving a second chance so easy? Right? Well, at least with Pesach, not with the circumcision. But with Pesach, if it's such a powerful mitzvah, how come Hashem is, Yalla, no, you know what, come back in a month, you'll do it again. You would expect by Hashem to say, oh, these are such a high mitzvah. No, not giving you a second. Other things I'll give you a second chance. But that, specifically, we see that the Kadosh Baruch Hu very easily gives a second chance. And the answer is, like I told you, is in the Mishnah. The Mishnah itself is called Mishnah Kretot. That it goes and says all this 36 Kretot. And again, karet is to chop off. The punishment is to be chopped off, and the soul gets chopped off. It's called karet. It is called mita bidei shamayim, death by the heavenly court. The person does a sin, and the heavenly court says, kill the person. This is karet, that you get uprooted. So the Masechet in the Mishnah explains all these 36 sins, and it goes into one after the other, explaining what is the sin and what is the result. And like we mentioned, The two positive ones are the mitzvot of self-circumcision and Pesach. Now, there is a story that will shed some more light on the situation. And there's a story that there was once, about 200 years ago, there was a certain individual, very, very known. His name was Leib Sares, and he was one of the Baal Shem Tov students. Now, he's not a Rebbe, he's not a tzaddik, he's not somebody that has books, but nevertheless, he was known to be a great, great, great righteous man. And he was literally one of the first-hand students of the Baal Shem Tov. And one of the mitzvahs that he was most particular with is Pidyon Shvuim. Pidyon Shvuim is to release somebody sitting in jail. Because at the time, the way it worked, if a Jew could not pay the landlord the rent for the house or for the business, they would throw them in the jail. And that was pretty common because it wasn't such a prosperous time. It was a very hard time. And many people, they couldn't afford the rent, and they will just be thrown into the pit. So he had this was one of his mitzvot, to redeem prisoners. He would go from one city to another and get them out of jail. The story says that one time he came to some town. It was the eve of Yom Kippur, and he said, okay, I'm going to celebrate Yom Kippur in this town. Got ready, did his tshuva, and he comes into it was a little shul, very, very small town. It was such a small town, they didn't have a minyan there. But, a few men came from that town, a few men came from this town. Everybody made an effort to gather together specifically to Yom Kippur. They didn't care, they would sleep on the floor. Some of them came from miles away, from different towns. But for Yom Kippur, we have to pray in a minyan. One after the other, they start coming in, the first, the second, third, fifth. Then they come, getting already close to Yom Kippur, and there are only 9 men. What are we going to do? What are we going to pray in Yom Kippur without a minyan? What are we going to do? So Leib starts asking, what, does nobody, no other Jews here? They're saying, we're all the Jews here. There's nobody else here. He's like, come on, there must be one. No other Jew. They're looking around, no. And he says, come on, must be at least one Jew somewhere around here. Maybe a Jew, what is called a Yehudi Mumar. A Jew that said, I don't want to be a Jew anymore, and he became Christian, Catholic, whatever it is. And they said, if this is the case, there is one. But he's no. You'll never get him here. He says, who is it? They tell him, listen, many years ago, there was this guy, he's a Jew, and he fell in love with the daughter of the rich man of this town, and he wanted to marry her. He fell in love with her. She was beautiful and needless to say, very wealthy. And the condition was of the father that if you want to marry my daughter, you can't be Jewish anymore. So he decided that money and looks is more important than his Jewishness, and he gave it up. He's like, I don't want to be Jewish anymore. And he, so to say, converted to whatever it was, Christianity. But we know that according to Halakha, it doesn't matter what you're going to do, you're always going to stay a Jew. Even if you believe that you're not, even if you practice any other religion, you are a Jew no matter what. So the Rabbi said, let me talk to him. They told him, this is a lost case. He said, years. Well, you know how many times I tried to get him here? He told them, tell me where he is. I'm going to go and get him. Okay, they tell him, go. You can't miss. There's a castle at the end of the road. Go. So, Rabbi Soros goes. He looks for the castle. Finally, he finds it. He comes, knocks on the door. It's an hour or two before Yom Kippur. The butler opens the door. Yes, can I help you? He tells him, my name is Leib. Please go tell the master of this mansion that there's a Jew at the door that wants to talk to him. Okay. The butler goes and gets the wealthy individual, brings him into the room, and he tells him, listen, Mr. Jew, my name is Leib Saras. I came from a very far town. Happens to be I'm the student of the great Baal Shem Tov. There is Yom Kippur in 2 hours. We are 9 guys in that shul. I need you to come with us right now to fulfill the minyan. We need a minyan. I said, get out of here. He tells him, listen, I know you are a Jew. Doesn't matter what you believe, what you did, you are a Jew. We need you. Say you're sorry, do your tshuva, come with us to shul. We'll accept you. We just need you to the minyan. He says to him, no, I'm not coming. What do you mean you're not coming? He says, so he starts telling to him the story. He's like, why don't you want to come? He told him, listen, many years ago I fell in love with this girl, and I converted, and I'm not really Jewish. So Sarah tells him, listen, you are a Jew, please come with us. I can guarantee to you, if you do tshuva now, if you ask forgiveness to Hashem, Hashem will forgive you for everything that you did for all these years. He was already old, his non-Jewish wife already died, he didn't have anything going on anymore. And Rabbi is telling him, listen, Hashem will forgive, it's Yom Kippur, come with us. You are going to fulfill the minyan, we don't have a minyan without you. And I guarantee to you, Hashem will forgive you. No, I am not coming. Rabbi tells him, you know what my name is? He says, yeah, you said your name is Rabbi Saras. So he says, you know what's Saras? Like, no. He's like, my mom's name was Sarah. And I'm named as Reb Leib, the son of Sarah. Saras. Saras. Who names the child after the mother? What do you mean, the son of Sarah? He tells him, listen, let me tell you about my mom. My mom grew up in a town. Her father had like a little bar. That's what they used to have then in Russia, the Ukraine. Everybody would come, go in, get some alcohol, and he would run a bar. He would rent it from the there was a landlord. It's called the Paritz. He would rent it from it and make a little bit of money. Happened to be that my mother, the daughter, used to work there. She had to, wipe the counter and serve the drinks. And my mom was very, very attractive, very beautiful. The son of the Paritz, who was the ruler of the area, liked her. He came one night, another night. He fell in love with her. He kept trying to ask her out, and she was like, listen, I'm not going to go out with you. One time, he walks in, maybe he was a little bit drunk, and he told her, I'm going to marry you. Tomorrow, we're going to have a wedding. Whether you like it or not, I'm going to marry you. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to go against now the ruler of the town. It's like going against the head of the mafia. The son of the head of the mafia is telling you marry me. What are they going to do? They didn't know what to do. Happened to be that there was a very old man that used to come to this bar and get drunk every night. He would sleep on the bench, take a few shots, conk out. A very old guy. So Leib tells him, my mother, Sarah, said to her father, you know what? How about I marry this guy? Let's make quickly a wedding. And tomorrow, when the son of the head of the mafia, the Paritz comes, I'll tell him, listen, I married the love of my life. I'm sorry, I'm a married woman. I can't marry you. So they said, okay, that's a good idea. They went to the old man, would you marry my daughter? So, anyways, chick-chack, they bought a rabbi, 2 witnesses, brought a chuppah, and they got married. Needless to say, the next day the son of the Paritz came. She told him, I'm very sorry, look, see, I'm a married woman. I married the love of my life, this junk, old 95-year-old man. Sorry to tell you, I was in love with him for years and I married him. Okay, it would be embarrassing to take a woman that she's married, so he left her alone. And Reb Leib said, and you know what, from that marriage, I was born. She got married with him and they had a kid, and I'm this Leib. And I was named Leib Saras because of the Mesirut Nefesh of my mom, that she went and married this junk old man just not to be taken to the hands of this son of the Paritz who was not even Jewish. And her Mesirut Nefesh, she was willing to marry this old man and get pregnant with him, and I came out. And he says, and this is where I got my name. And of course the Jew, the older one, got very, very emotional, and he tells him, come, come with me to shul, say sorry, do tshuva, finish with it, don't worry, Hashem will forgive you. He was able to convince him. And he took him to the shul, they had a minyan, the whole Yom Kippur, they were praying there, and this paritz, this older man who was the wealthy man, the whole time stood next to the Aron Kodesh and crying, and every time would stop crying, start crying, stop crying. At the end of Yom Kippur came Tfilat Ne'ilah, when it was the time to scream Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu. He came forward to the ark and screamed Shema Yisrael with all his heart. Then we scream Hashem Hu Elokim 7 times. He screamed it. The second, and we're crying. The second, then he finished, he fell on the ground and died. So, what do we learn from this? We learn 2 words. Lama nigra. Why should I lose out? Why should I lose out? And this is why this mitzvah, this is the only mitzvah that anyone in history ever screamed, why should I lose out? How many mitzvahs does anybody scream? Nobody screamed. Nobody comes and complains. That's one of the reasons, by the way, why we don't have Mashiach. Nobody comes and complains. You know, I gave a lecture, I think about 1.5 years ago, and I mentioned one of the reasons why we don't have Mashiach, nobody comes and demands and tells Hashem, here's the Torah. It says in the Torah that I am obligated to bring sacrifices. How am I going to bring you sacrifices? I don't have a Bet HaMikdash. I have a cow, I have a goat, I have a sheep, I have chickens. I want to come and give a sacrifice. You don't give me the option. Nobody comes and demands. People should go now, buy a goat with the best of the money and say to Hashem, here, I have a goat. I want to sacrifice it. Give me a Bet HaMikdash. That's not fair. You are preventing me from doing a mitzvah. Who does such a thing? If we would do, maybe we would have Bet HaMikdash. Nobody's demanding Hashem to tell him, hey, you know that because we don't have Bet HaMikdash, 70% of the mitzvot I can't do. Don't take my exact, it's not exactly 70%. But the majority of the mitzvot I can't do because I don't have Bet HaMikdash. I can come now, I should come and say to Hashem, I want you to send Mashiach and bring Bet HaMikdash because it's not fair. You are preventing me from doing mitzvot. What's the logic here? So this is the only mitzvah that anyone ever in history came in to complain. Did anybody come to Moshe Rabbeinu and says, listen, I forgot to put tefillin on today. Or I forgot to say Birkat Hamazon. Who never did that? This is the only time in history that somebody came to Moshe Rabbeinu and says, why should I suffer from that? I did a mitzvah. It's not my fault. Why should I lack? Why should I suffer because it's not even my fault? And these are these 2 words, Lama nigra. Why should I lose out? You know, I have a rule in my house. It's a little bit of a harsh rule. I keep a very tight shift in my house with my kids, a little army. And sometimes we'll have a outing or something we prepared, or we're all going to go to ice cream, something. And the rule is that, let's say something will get messed up, the rule would be that till I know how or who did it, nobody's going to the special event. To put a lot of pressure. So sometimes, you know, kids, they do all sorts of misfit things. Sometimes they steal something. You know, one kid will have a candy, the other kid will go and take it, whatever it is. Something happens. The rule is, okay, till I find out who did it, no ice cream. And then, of course, 2 of the 3 kids come and says, that's not fair, I didn't do it. Sorry, this is pressure. And why? Because then the kids start going to each other. No, come on, whoever it is, we're not going to go to ice cream. And it's pushing pressure on the one who did it. Says like, now he feels that now everybody's being punished because of me. And anyways, my wife thinks I'm too harsh, but nevertheless, it works. Somebody comes clean after 2 minutes. Okay, it was me. Oh. But nevertheless, the ones who didn't do anything, they come to me and says, why should I suffer? That's not fair. How come I need to suffer? So nevertheless, this mitzvah is so unique is because this is the only mitzvah that somebody any time in history came and say, why should I lose out? Lama nigra. And this is the only mitzvah. When the Kadosh Baruch Hu hears a Jew screaming, he acts. We don't scream. We don't scream to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, hey, I missed my opportunity. This is the only mitzvah that it was done. So when a Jew comes and screams to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, give me a second chance, the Kadosh Baruch Hu says, what did you say? You said you want a second chance? I'll give you. But how many times do we actually do it? So Hashem says, you will scream to me from the bottom of my heart that you want a second chance. I will manipulate all the laws of nature to make sure that you get it. And this is exactly what the Kadosh Baruch Hu says. I will give you another whole new Pesach because you asked for it. Because this is the only time we found in the Torah that somebody approached Moshe Rabbeinu and said, we want another opportunity. Now, there is another story that kind of, again, emphasizes this rule. There is a story in the Talmud about a certain individual. His name was Elazar ben Dordaya. And he was known to be like a big troublemaker. Anything that he could, he sinned. And it was known that he liked sinning with women. And he, Bemet, was very not a nice guy. Any sin that you can do, he would do, but specifically he would go after married women and he would do some very nasty things. One time he heard about a certain woman, very attractive, and he wanted to go there. He's like, I'm going to get her. And he traveled to a far away land, and he came and he worked out his charm and he got her. In the middle of the act, she whispers to him, Ata avud. That's what she told him. You are lost. You will never do tshuva. He hears that in the middle of the act. It affected him. This woman is telling me I'm lost. I'm a lost case. I'll never be able to do tshuva. Then he finally realized, what am I doing? What am I doing? Running after my desire, after my lust. Now this woman is telling me you're a lost case. You will never Hashem doesn't want to even see you. He ran out of the house, started screaming and crying, Hashem, forgive me. He was crying from the bottom of the heart till he died. And his soul left his body. He did Shat Shuvah, and he literally died on the spot. Came out a heavenly voice and says, Elazar ben Dordaya, mezuman la'olam haba. This individual, Elazar ben Dordaya, the gates of the world to come are open for you. You are welcome in Olam Haba. Your tshuva was accepted. Wow. Now, on the other side of town was a very great rabbi. His name is Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. He's the Rabbi who wrote the Mishnah. He was known as, he's referred to as Rabbi. He was such a tzaddik, he heard the heavenly voice screaming, Rabbi Elazar ben Dordaya, you are welcome in Olam Haba, in the world to come. You know what happened? He started crying. And he right away said, I'll say it in Hebrew, then I'll translate, Yesh koneh olamo beshanim. Some people, they buy their world to come and it takes them years. Aval yesh kono et olamo b'sha'ah achat. But some people can buy their entire Olam Haba in 1 hour. And they asked him, the students asked him, why you cry? You should be happy that he got his Olam Haba. He did Shuvah. Why are you crying? He says, you know why I'm crying? Because I learned from that what means 1 hour in this world. What 1 hour in this world can change. 1 hour in the world, he went out. He was the biggest sinner in the generation. Every sin that he could do, he did. 1 hour of screaming for forgiveness to Hashem, he died. And he made tshuva, and he was welcome in Olam Haba. And Rabbi said, I now realize what 1 hour in this world can do. Can you imagine what 70 years can do? So that's why he was crying. And this is another one of the stories that comes and teaches what it means when you really want. When you really ask, he really wanted. Now, there's another story, and this will finish, a very famous story in the Talmud about a certain individual. He's known as Acher. A certain individual that went off the path. He was a very big Tana, and he went off the path, and he went completely against the Torah. The Talmud calls him the other one, Acher. And there's a famous story that one of his students was Rabbi Meir, and he would still go to him for advice. And actually, the Talmud says that when this Acher used to talk, everybody, their jaws will drop. Everybody would come to listen. Even though he was a big heretic, they still listened to him because he was so wise, so unbelievable. The story says that one time on Shabbat, Rabbi Meir went to talk to him. So, Rabbi Meir is walking, and Acher is on a horse, riding on a horse. You're not allowed to ride on a horse on Shabbat. Nevertheless, he's like, listen, he's riding on the horse, and Rabbi Meir is asking him questions. At some point, Acher tells Rabbi Meir, stop. I counted 2,000 steps. You have reached the border of Shabbat. Turn around. You can't walk anymore. Rabbi Meir tells him, come on. He saw an opportunity. He saw that maybe it's a good time to strike. He tells him, what are you doing? Get off your horse. Do tshuva. What are you doing? You're more wiser than me. You're wiser than all the sages in our generation. You are so with it that you counted 2,000 steps and you're telling me, stop, this is the border, Gvul Shabbat. No, get off your horse, do tshuva. And he tells him, no, I lost my opportunity. I don't have a way to do tshuva. It doesn't matter what I'm going to do, my tshuva will never be accepted. And of course, he ended up dying, never did tshuva. But this is going to conclude the class. His name was Acher. Acher is the other one. They didn't want to name him. They didn't want to call him even. Some people mistaken. They think Yashka. When it's talking about Acher, it's talking about him. No, it's a different rabbi, a different Tana. Nevertheless, his name was Acher, the other one. But Acher also resembles another word in Hebrew, and that is ichur. And le'acher is to be late. Acher is the other one. To be late is le'acher, or ichur. And a person that feels that he is late will never do any changes. That's why I told you in the beginning that a person that late is a very optimistic person, because he says, I can change, I can fix it. The point we want to take from this class is that it's never too late. You're never late. We're never me'acher. You can always change the time, you can always change the situation, as long as you are still alive. Kol od haner doleg efshar letaken. As long as the candle is still burning, you can rectify and you can do a tikkun. It's never too late. This is what we should need to take from this parasha, from this mitzvah, such a unique mitzvah, the only mitzvah that the Kadosh Baruch Hu goes out of his way and says, oh, you asked? I will fulfill. You asked for forgiveness, you asked for a second chance, you'll cry your heart out, I will change the direction of how the world changes. So it turns around for you to do tshuva, because it's never too late. And this is where the word acher comes from, that if you think that you lost the train, then the train will not come anymore. But if you say, no, there's another train coming, I'll do tshuva, Hashem says, no problem, I will send you another train. I will send you a Pesach Sheni. Just ask. Just ask from the bottom of your heart, Hashem will fulfill your wish. Hashem will help you do tshuva. So we want to take from this powerful parasha that yes, we fail, we sin, we do mistakes, we say the wrong things, we take things without the permission, whether it's deliberately intention, doesn't matter. The point is that every given moment, Hashem says, go back. In a way, I will accept your tshuva. I will completely erase everything. But come back and ask. Ask for forgiveness. And B'ezrat Hashem, we have to understand that every moment in our life is a valuable moment. That's why Rabbi was crying, because he says, look what he achieved in 1 hour. We sometimes invest our entire life. That's what he says. Yesh koneh olamo b'shanim rabot. Some people work their entire life to work on their midot, refine their character trait, and they say, okay, this is my investment to Olam Haba. And some people, 1 hour. So we want to understand from that A, that it's never too late, and B, and most important, is what it means 1 hour in this world. What you can achieve in 1 hour. Some people say, an hour. You know what you can do in 1 hour? What you can gain in 1 hour. There's a Mishnah that says, Yafa sha'a achat ba'olam hazeh של תשובה ומעשים טובים מכל חיי העולם הבא. 1 hour in this world to do good, kind acts and tshuva is greater than the entire olam haba. What you can achieve. So B'ezrat Hashem, we should carry this with us, not only for this week, but for the rest of our life, how valuable our time is, how valuable our actions are, and needless to say that if I mess up, don't neglect it. You neglect something, it wears off and forgotten, and the blemish stays there, but you didn't do anything about it. Right away you see that you did a mistake, something went wrong, right away fix it. Right away. I know it's not always the best thing to do, and it's not always easy, but trust me, when you want to rectify something, the more you neglect it, the more you push it, it's harder to reverse it. And you want to make sure that you take care of things right on the spot. And needless to say, if Hashem can forgive, people can forgive. I just need to live with the fact that I know that everything can be changed. It's never too late, and my time is more valuable than gold.